Welcome back to my existential crisis, as well as yours, possibly. Not a midlife crisis. That's a different thing. I want to make this video to further explore the concept of what it means to be going through an existential crisis, at least for me personally, my version of it. And perhaps after you've watched this video, you can see, you know what, I can relate to him at least on these points, and at least I can feel a little bit more confirmed in what I'm feeling and what I'm going through. So the best way for me to describe how I feel is this. Consider my age. I'm 38. I was born in 81. And so for me, in first grade, that's when the regular Nintendo came out and became popular. I mean, it hit the United States in 85, but by 87, 88, that's when all your friends had one. And that was, I finally got one in the Christmas of 89, and I finally owned Super Mario Brothers myself, and it gave me the opportunity to finally beat the game. But what's funny about that game is, even when you beat the game, there's something in the back of your mind that thinks, at the end of most levels, there's that flagpole. And sometimes like there's this place where it's almost like you could jump over the flagpole. And so in the back of my mind, even though I was a kid, I was good enough to beat the whole game, and I could save the princess and impress my friends. Yeah, that was a milestone for an 8-year-old, which my son is 8 right now, by the way. But the flagpole, in the back of my mind, all the many times I beat the game as a kid, if I try hard enough, I can jump over that flagpole, and then I can brag to my friends that I was able to do it. I ran really fast, I jumped really high, and I jumped over that flagpole. Which would lead you to think, well, what happens when you jump over the flagpole? Because ultimately what it would do is it would give you more points, I guess, based on how high up the flagpole you got or something like that, some kind of arbitrary system. So it made you think that you could, in theory, jump over it. Well, by the time I got into 5th grade, something came out called the Game Genie, which there was a code, super high jump, you could jump over the flagpole. And that was one of the great things about getting the Game Genie, so I could finally hack the game and do this. So I finally jump over the flagpole, and here's what happens. The screen just stays where it is. You can't progress. There's nowhere else to go. Okay, so you jumped over the flagpole. So what? The screen's not going anywhere. There's nowhere else to go. So what do? You have to go down the tube. That's all you can do. And go to the next level, and hear go into that level, and that's the next thing. It was never intended for you to jump over the flagpole. That was never part of this whole thing. But I think in the back of so many little boys' minds in the 80s, we thought we could do it. That's how I feel right now. I feel like I have jumped over the flagpole. So let me explain this, and I think too, as I pointed out in my other video, what's happening with the existential crisis, at least in the United States and certain other countries, it has occurred in which a younger man can check off all the major boxes in his life at a much sooner age. So for example, let's put this in perspective. At age 38, here's some things that have happened. Now, I have to give this disclaimer. For those of you who are not going through a midlife crisis, it may be very easy to hear what I'm saying is, oh, this guy's trying to brag. I'm not bragging. I'm telling you why I'm in this situation and why I feel this way. So for anyone who is going through the crisis, they're not going to hear what I'm saying as bragging. They're going to say, oh, no, I can relate on a different level. Yes, he's not bragging. He's explaining what got him to this state of feeling kind of disconnected from the human experience. So by age 38, married over a decade, 2 kids, I have accomplished those things, but more specifically, if you look at where I was just 2 years ago, okay? Well, let's make it 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was living in a townhouse, and I had just paid off my college loans. So if you're used to like, okay, get married, I've got to pay off $10,000 debt and wedding, and then I've still got, however much more for my student loans, and then of course we had accumulated debt too. So we had to pay off like $40,000 in debt, And then finally we paid off just enough. Now we are debt free other than our townhouse. And then we ended up getting the last affordable house in the suburbs of Nashville. And we were able to move into this, nice home, 2-car garage and a yard and a cul-de-sac, all these great things. So I went from, okay, I'm in debt to living in a townhouse to now I've got a nice house and now I've got 2 kids and I'm not in debt other than the house. Well, then what happens? Well, in the past 2 years, I lost my job where I'd worked for 11 or 12 years. But then after 6 months, I got a new job and basically my salary doubled. And my wife started making more money too along the years as well. And what happened is we got into this situation where and you can Google this, you can look this up yourself, but there's a certain amount of money that a person can make in the United States to where once you make that salary range, there's a certain range. If you make more money than that, you won't be happier. You might actually be less happy if you make more money than that. But if you make less money than that certain range, you're still not as happy as you would be if you're in the range. I'm in the range. My wife is in the range. So we've got 2 people in that range. In addition to me checking off all the things. And of course, one of my goals during the whole time I've been married is we'd always thought, man, it'd be cool to have a Jeep one day. Well, I drove the same car for, from January of 06 until May of this year. So when you think from 06 to 13 years driving the same car on Element, and I always thought, man, one day I'll get a Jeep. Well, earlier this summer, I got the Jeep I always wanted. And I got an amazing deal on it. I was able to pay cash for it, but we had money saved for it. So it's like, what happens is I've gotten older. Money's not really an issue. Granted, I'm working hard and I have an important job and all that good stuff, but money's not the issue it used to be. And then along the way, how do you say it? The light bulb went off, or I turned off the breaker switch because I used to allow myself to be offended. People hurt my feelings, people to disrespect me. But around the age of 35, 3 years ago, I stopped letting people do that. I realized, oh, this is my choice. I can do this. Nor do I have to worry about people perceiving me as wrong or ignorant or immoral. A lot of people live their lives with those fears, and I don't, because I just assume now, yeah, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm ignorant. I'm immoral. To certain people out there, I'm always going to be those things. No matter what I believe or what I do, people are still going to put me in those categories, and I can now instantly say, you're right. I am wrong. I am ignorant. I am immoral. So when you get to that point where, okay, and it's like this, humans have been conditioned to basically live in fear and anxiety. Like since the days of the caveman, where am I going to get my food? How am I going to eat? How am I going to survive? Oh no, what if another army comes in here? We've got to defend our village, all these things. But when you live in the United States, who's policing the world, we've got, what is it? How many military stations do we have all across the world as we police the nation? We police the world. That's what we do. So I live in this nation, making the right amount of money, not too much, not too little. Money is just not really an issue. It's not like I need food. I don't need anything. I have everything I need. And I'm happily married. I have a good family life. I have great parents, the best parents. I have a good family support system. So when you find someone who's this stable, it almost makes you feel less human, because I'm not driven by, I don't have fear. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. My life is good, and I know that. I'm grateful for all that I have. But can you understand how in some way I feel disconnected from the human experience? Here are all these people who are driven by, I got to make more money. I got to be cool. I got to get people to like me. I got to convince people to not think that I'm wrong. I got to make them not think that I'm immoral or ignorant. I got to make them think that I'm all these things. And I've got to be able to make more money. And then a lot of people are still sorting out trauma that happened to them from when they were youth. And they haven't figured that out, so they're trying to fill that hole that they have with all these other things. So many people deal, like I said, with depression, or people try to fill these voids with drugs or alcohol, all the things that people can fill this with. I don't have those issues. I don't have those, that's not part of my identity. So can you understand, and even for the fact that I'm not offended by other people, I'm not disrespected by people, I don't let them do that to me, can you understand how I would feel less human to some degree? It's like I'm kind of floating away from the earth. It's like, well, okay, I'm here, but whoa, I'm kind of disconnected from. That's the best way I can describe what it's like to be going through an existential crisis at my age. I have found much success. Basically, the American dream, I'm living it. As of this year specifically, age 38, it's been a progress for me. It's been a process for me since 35. But now, once my eyes became opened, now I'm that much more aware of what's going on. And now I'm at the point where I am working through how to deal with it, which I made a video about 5 tips, that I have come up with to help me through it. So if you haven't seen that video, you're welcome to check that one out as well. But it's almost like, my final thought on this, it's almost like people who are rich and famous. I'm not rich and famous, and granted, I'm in that perfect amount of money to make to where you don't have to worry about money anymore. And I'm not famous other than if you count my channel, it's got 7,600 subscribers or something, plus my other one that's got a couple thousand on them as well. So collectively, I've got about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That doesn't make me famous, and I don't think you can count me as rich either. At least you could on a global scale, but specifically as an American living in the Nashville, Tennessee area, it's the richest county in Tennessee. So, at best, I'm probably still a little bit below average. But it's like, when you look at people who become successful actors or musicians, and especially when they do it young, it's like they don't know what to do with the money. And I have a theory too about John Mayer, Justin Bieber, even Adam Levine from Maroon 5. These young, good-looking guys, and what do? They just get tattoo sleeves. It's almost like everything was too perfect, so I might as well try to make things more interesting or complicated. I really think that's why they ultimately make that decision. They like, well, what else do I do now? So I feel, to some degree, that's kind of what it's like. It's like having a taste of what it's like to be so rich and famous that you're removed from the normal human experience to a certain degree. So if anybody can relate to this, which I do believe that there are people out there who can, and can hear what I say and not hear it as bragging, but instead of saying, this guy knows what it's like to be a very hardworking American, then suddenly to find success maybe sooner than he expected. And now he's got the second half of his life to basically just fund his retirement and his kids' college and all those things. But ultimately, that struggle that was there is gone. I'm not hungry in the same sense that I needed to be before. The thing worked, the formula worked. And now it's a matter of kind of recalibrating my identity and figuring out who I am now and what I do with this extra space in my brain that motivated me so much. What do I do with that now? So if you can relate, I'd love to hear from you. You may be the reason I make my next video about the topic. Comments right here.